Good day, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Please, before the start of the class, try to like, share, subscribe, and comment. That is if you're seeing this video for the first time or if you're coming across my page for the first time. So today we're going to be diving into the anatomy of the sebaceous gland. We're going to be looking at the gland. Most of us have been experiencing sometimes you find out that your skin becomes oily even without you applying oil or ointment on your skin. All this is as a result of the presence of a gland in the skin called the sebaceous gland. We all know that the skin is divided into two layers. You have the external layer called the epidermis, and you have the internal layer known as the dermis. So in these layers of the skin, you have an exocrine gland present called the sebaceous gland. So let's look at what this sebaceous gland is and what it does. Sebaceous gland, they are specialized exocrine glands in the skin that secrete oil substances, and these oil substances are called sebum. So this gland, they play a role in maintaining the skin health, lubrication, prevention against dehydration, and microbial invasion. These are the functions of this sebaceous gland. Aside from these functions, these sebaceous gland have cells present in them, and these cells are called the sebocytes. These cells are called the sebocytes. And then these sebocytes undergo what we call a holocrine secretion. When we look at the holocrine secretion of the sebocytes, this is a process whereby the cells, the sebaceous gland cells, accumulate lipids. They keep on accumulating lipids until they get to maturation stage and they rupture. And the moment they rupture, they release that oil secretion called the sebum. How then do they accumulate this oil? They accumulate this oil by from the lipids in our body. So that is where they get this oil. It keeps on accumulating this oil substance, these lipids, unto the point where it gets to maturation. And when it gets to the stage of maturation, it is going to rupture. And when it ruptures, it releases that oil. That oil is now what we call the what? The sebum. There are several functions of the sebaceous gland, and these functions can be grouped as we have the lubrication and moisture retention function. If we look at the lubrication and moisture retention function, we're looking at a function of the sebum present in the sebaceous gland. So what does the sebum do? The sebum is going to help lubricate the skin and keep it moisturized. And because it keeps the skin moisturized, this is going to prevent excessive water loss through evaporation. We look at another function of the sebaceous gland known as protection against microbial invasion. Because of the presence of fatty acids, triglycerides, wax esters in the sebum, this help in fighting against harmful bacteria and fungi. And by fighting against harmful bacteria and fungi, this reduces the risk of infection and skin irritation. The sebum also has another function known as thermoregulation. When we look at what thermoregulation is, we are looking at heat regulation. Because of the presence of sebum, there is protection from excessive evaporation through sweat. Then we look at another function of the sebaceous gland known as the UV protection. Because of the presence of vitamin E in the sebum, the sebaceous gland offers protection against what? UV ray. That is when we are exposed to sunlight. This vitamin E that is present in the sebum is going to neutralize the free radicals that is formed from the exposure to ultraviolet rays. If we look at the hormonal regulation, we are looking at the effect of hormones on the sebaceous gland. You can agree with me that When a child is born, the child continues to grow until he or she gets to the stage of puberty. At the stage of puberty, the body begins to develop. So at this stage of puberty, the sebaceous gland gets to the stage of what? Sensitivity and activity. When it gets to that stage of sensitivity and activity, it begins to what? Release sebum. Why does this happen? This happens because certain hormones have effect on the sebaceous gland, and this hormone could be called the androgens. Androgens are male hormones. An example of this male hormone is the testosterone. So at the stage of puberty, you come to realize that this testosterone would have an effect on the sebaceous gland, causing the sebaceous gland to increase in its what? Activity. Then we look at the genetic factor. Genetics and environmental factor have a certain role to play in regulating the sebaceous gland. Here, if we look at genetics proper, we find out that people who have genetics of predisposition of oil skin, they might have larger sebaceous glands or an increased androgen sensitivity. And then the reverse also becomes the case. If we look at environmental factors, we find out that certain environments play a role. Certain environmental conditions, such as the diet, such as temperature and humidity, can influence the sebaceous gland's activity. For example, during high humidity, we have an increase in sebum production, while during harsh climates, you find out that the sebaceous gland secretion, that is the sebum production, is going to reduce, and this is going to cause the skin to remain dry. When we look at harsh environmental conditions, we're looking at harmattan seasons. This is going to cause dryness to the skin. So let's look at the different types of sebaceous gland based on where they are, based on where they can be found. If we look at the different locations of sebaceous gland, we have the simple sebaceous gland and we have the specialized sebaceous glands. So the simple sebaceous glands are those ones that are in relation with the hair follicles. They are in relation with the hair follicle. What does it mean? This means that these kind of sebaceous glands are found where there is presence of hairs. But when we look at the specialized sebaceous glands, these are glands that are found where there are no hairs. Example, we look at the sebaceous gland found in the eyelids. We look at the sebaceous gland found in the lips. We look at the sebaceous gland found in the genital area. If you look at the genital area, both in male and female, you find out that that region is devoid of hair. If you look at the lips, you find out that the lips is devoid of hair. If you look at the eyelid, you find out that the eyelid is also devoid of hair. So these sebaceous glands are found in this region. And in this region, what do? Instead of throwing their secretions into this duct, they throw their secretions directly on the skin of that region. Finally, let's look at the disorders of the sebaceous gland. We have the first disorder known as the acne vulgaris. Acne vulgaris. This is a very common disorder, and then it is caused as a result of what? Excessive production of sebum and the obstruction of hair follicle by the sebum or dead skin cells. So when there is excessive production of sebum in the skin, this could cause accumulation of oil in the skin, thereby resulting to this acne vulgaris. It can also be as a result of the sebum blocking the hair follicle, and when it blocks the hair follicle begins to inflame, causing the what? The acne. This acne can result to formation of pimples. This can result to blackheads. It can also result to what? Cyst. Acne vulgaris is usually prevalent during puberty. Why? Because of the sensitivity of the hormones that usually surge at puberty. We look at the sebaceous cyst. The sebaceous cyst. This occurs when the sebaceous glands are blocked, and this leads to the formation of fluid sacs beneath the skin. They are usually benign, but they usually cause discomfort or infections if they rupture. So these are the two main disorders that usually affect the sebaceous gland. There are other several organs, but for the benefit of this class, we're only going to look at just these two. In conclusion, sebaceous gland plays a vital role in maintaining the skin's health and overall function. By the production of the sebum, the sebaceous gland moisturizes the skin, it prevents water loss, it aids in thermoregulation, it prevents microbial activities, and also protects the skin from UV alterations. So these glands, they are regulated by a complex of hormonal, genetic, and environmental factors. Thank you for staying with me till the end of this class. I would like you to keep on subscribing, keep on liking, keep on sharing, and keep on commenting on these videos. Thank you and have a nice day.